1-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
A 2-1 pitch. And a drive in the air to deep right field. That ball headed toward the wall. That ball is out of here! Out of here! A game-winning grand slam home run off the bat of Robin Ventura.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
High fly ball to left. Back at the wall, and the captain's going deep to the wall.
Turner drives one to center, chasing Nimmo back to the warning track right at the fence. He made the catch! Oh, wow! The catch of the year from Brandon Nimmo! He took a home run away from Justin Turner! Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
3-0. We have made it to episode 30, and we are glad that you are in for the ride with us on the Say Hello podcast. My name is Casey Lynn. I am joined by my co-host, former Major League pitcher, former Met Bill Pulsifer. We are, of course, joined by Stephen White, our producer behind the scenes. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Roots-Recordings.com. Bill, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm hanging in there, man. Another day closer to opening day, so it's getting exciting now. We're watching a little bit of ball right before we're doing the show here, so exciting to know that we're getting closer and closer with each day to real baseball. Where it's really going to matter.
Those 6:05 starts in spring training, they're a little. I like it, and I wouldn't mind if it was there for the entire season because it's like a perfect time, you know.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for people to have to get home from work and get to the ballpark. But I tell you what, I had a little bit of a flashback watching today because this is right around, when the game time started today was right around when you would take infield back in the day in the Florida State League. And I saw somebody get on first base, and I saw Pete Alonso kind of telling Manaea, like, don't throw the ball over here. I can't see.
Yep.
And it brought me back to doing infield practice in the Florida State League. We would do it not every single day, but because it's A-ball, you would do it more often. And I remember doing 3-6-1 double plays. So first baseman to the shortstop covering second base and throwing it back to the pitcher where we would cover. Yeah. And it brought back memories of trying to run over there to cover first base and knowing that I was going to have no chance in hell of seeing the ball and just hope that I had my teeth after the ball was thrown.
I mean, that's just, I get it. It just sounds dangerous knowing that everybody knows that you're not going to be able to see it because that sun is just right in your face.
Yeah. It's almost like we should have done it first thing before batting practice as opposed to right before the ball game. But it brought me back watching Pete saying, hey, I can't see.
Yeah, we were texting before our recording here, and Manaea. Now everybody knows when we're recording, but that's all good. Nothing to hide here. But Manaea struck out the side in the first inning, and he looked good and everything like that. Helps, like you said, when you're swinging 3 feet out of the zone, and I'm like, well, hello, shadows. When you were pitching, I'm sure shadows were your best effing friend.
Oh yeah, you'd love to always be throwing either into the shadow or throwing out of the shadow, because it makes the ball kind of blink a little bit. Actually, it looks like you see dark ball, light ball, dark ball, light ball. It's definitely the pitcher's friend.
Yeah, and those 5 o'clock starts. Not to get way off topic here, but in the NLDS when the playoffs start, they usually start like 5 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, and usually it's a lot of shadows every year. And, so shadows are a big deal, regardless if, spring training or not. So.
Hitting is hard to begin with. You add some shadows and it makes it even more difficult. Sorry, I got on a tangent, but you know how that goes.
We did. It happens. Before we go any further, episode 30, I'm sure you did a little research. You don't have to do for the number, like what we do every episode. And I was thinking about this. Eventually, we're going to get to up to the numbers where no one wears the uniform.
Well, then
obviously,
we would have to be Yankees podcast because they have a bunch of 95s and 87s and
yeah, we're not going to do that. But
right.
Today is 30. So I know you even mentioned it last podcast. Why don't you go ahead with the most famous number 30 that any Met has worn?
Obviously, the most famous is the legendary the Ryan Express, Nolan Ryan.
Bam.
But I did think of and do a little bit of research onto some 30s that I appreciated, and one was my favorite catcher that I ever threw to.
Thinking about him,
yeah, Alberto Castillo, and then a guy that we got along off the field, and I didn't get a chance to play with him on the field, but we knew each other through Mike Cameron, who we had the same agent, Mike Cameron and I, and that's Cliff Floyd, number 30. And then a guy that caught the only no-hitter in Mets history, and I got to meet Josh in Mets fantasy camp, and then also at another, I call it old man baseball tournament, where we go, former players go and coach the older guys, and it's Josh Tolley, number 30.
Yep. Everybody, you basically hit on the entire list. Nolan Ryan, like number 1, obviously. Number 30, he played with the Mets 68 to 70, won a World Series in 69. Then you had Mike Scott, who people don't remember that he was a Met because of the whole Astros 86 NLCS.
Yes, absolutely.
He wore it for a while, 79 to 82. So then you talked about your boy Alberto Castillo, who 95 to 98, which obviously is your era right there.
Yep.
And then Cliff Floyd, you talked about him as well, 03 to 06. And a little underrated Met in my opinion, but he was a good signing, of course. That 05, 06, those teams were they could have been better.
He had that unfortunate incident at first base with Hundley where they ran into each other and Cliff broke his wrist, and it kind of
as an expo.
Yeah, it kind of sidelined his trajectory a little bit in his career, but still had a very successful career.
Yeah, that I remember watching that. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah. That's a tough play there. The ball gets thrown into the runner a little bit, especially high.
He was an expo and that was at Olympic Stadium, if I recall right. Yeah. And then the two others are Michael Conforto,
obviously,
who, big fan favorite. He wore it for the longest time, drafted until he left the Mets, 15 to 21.
Yep.
And then the newest, or the latest, I should say, who wore it was last year, David Robertson.
There we go.
We all wanted him back. So before we go any further, if you're watching on YouTube, we are Say Hello at Say Hello Media. Please hit that sub right in front of you. Subscribe. It's free. We're every week. And if you're following us, wherever you get your podcast, follow, leave us a comment, give us a rating, tell us how great we are, ugly we are, our knowledge sucks, our knowledge is great, whatever you want.
All of the above.
All the above. So, with that being said, let's get this out of the way too. We have a winner from our giveaway last year. Jesus. Oh, God. From last week. We did a Jeff Kent autographed baseball, 3 clues. And if you were listening and you guessed the 3 clues and the player, you get the Jeff Kent baseball. I'd like to announce that I think this is his real name because I contacted him after he contacted me. Adam Ottavino.
Ottavino.
Real name.
How about
because
that?
I have to mail this Jeff Kent ball to him.
Right.
So, it's
pretty cool.
And so congratulations to him. He got the ball. He got all 3 clues. He connected the dots. The answer, if you were wondering, if you remember last week, was Al Leiter was the answer. He started his career with the Yankees, ended it with the Yankees, threw I didn't throw no hitter as a clue, but the middle clue was what was it? 2 rings with 2 different teams, Blue Jays and Marlins, and then he won 25 or more games with 3 different teams.
Yep.
And Mets were actually number 1, obviously. He won 96 games with the Mets.
I didn't realize he won that many games, almost 100 games. Wow. Al was a good pitcher. I tell you what, I remember the first time I ever saw Al throw live, and it was in when he was a Marlin.
Yeah.
Marlin, and down at Joe Robbie, or whatever it's called now, Hard Rock, which is actually where I got my first major league victory.
It's a Lone Depot Park now.
Is it Lone Depot Park? Yeah, I know it's changed quite a few times. But he was 97, 98 miles an hour, and this was 1996 numbers, 96 numbers. So those numbers were, if you put that on today's guns where they're reading the ball a little bit closer to the hand, he was probably throwing it up there 100, 101 miles an hour just cutting 2.5, 3 feet at that kind of velocity. He was something to behold the first time you get to see him live.
I loved Al, and you're right. If throwing 97 in 97, that if you're saying, and I agree with you, that's probably 100 right now.
Yeah.
The way they clock it, that's incredible. Because
I think they read the ball a little closer to release now than they did in years past. So as soon as you let go of it, it's losing speed. He was impressive numbers.
I loved Al as a Met. He was tenacious. He was a gamer. He grunted like Monica Seles as a tennis player, like every pitch, it didn't matter. He was a part of huge games for the Mets. So people forget how important he was for that time period where the Mets had a lot of success. So absolutely. Al Leiter was the answer. So again, congratulations to Adam. I can't make it up. Ottavino. Not Ottavino. Adam Ottavino.
Ottavino.
So
congratulations, Adam.
There you go. Moving on. We got to discuss the end of Mets spring training as we hit less than 10 days before the Mets open up at Citi Field against the Brewers, Thursday, March 28th. And crazy enough, opening day starts this week in Seoul, Korea, the Republic of Korea, as they call it now. Okay. And you have the Dodgers and the Padres. So we're right there. Well, baseball is literally right upon us. I'm sure people who are going to listen to this or watch or both, Dodgers, Padres, Seoul, Korea, Glass now against Hugh Darvish. There it is. The crazy thing about that, Bill, they played a 2-game set in Korea. They come back and play spring training games.
Yes.
Before the real opening day of the 28th.
Crazy how that works out.
Yeah.
But global. I guess, you know what? I mean, I guess in a way, for competitive balance, maybe it does make a little bit of a sense. Because I remember in 2000 when we went over to Japan for the opening series against the Cubs.
Were you there?
I was. And then I ended up not making the club out of spring because I didn't pitch well when we were over there. But I went over there for the tour. And I do remember coming home from Japan and definitely feeling jet lagged. So I would say that that's probably been taken into account, the fact that they're going to be playing all the way halfway across the world. And you're going to have to get up early or stay up exceptionally late to watch those games.
Depending where you are.
If you remember back to COVID, when ESPN was playing the KBO league games before MLB had picked back up again. So I think it kind of makes sense maybe to get those guys back and get them to kind of reaccustom themselves to the time, the R4 time period, periods, whatever the heck they're called. But I think it makes sense for that to happen. But it is definitely strange.
Yeah, it definitely is. They those 2 games count, and then spring training games obviously don't, and then they restart on the 28th
Welcome to Manfred Bowl.
Yeah, welcome to God. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
So, as a Mets spring training, they start on the 28th, so we're less than 10 days. I don't know if you saw it. It wasn't a press conference. Steve Cohen just happened to, be in the dugout for one of the games. I think it was in West Palm Beach. It wasn't a press conference. In the dugout, answering innocent questions from the reporters, and a couple of quotes that he said that stuck with me. And I have my opinion. I want to get yours. He said, quote, "I want to see what the kids can do," end quote. "We are stacked," end quote, but he meant minor league prospects. And he also said, quote, and this is the biggest one I got out of it, "Pitching is freaking expensive," end quote. So what I got out of that, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. He said we're done. Mark, we're not we're not making any more trades. Let's see what the kids could do. But the quote, pitching is freaking expensive. So it is. He's right. And you got a guy that can afford all the pitching. That was refreshing for me to hear. Refreshing, I should say, for Steve to say that, because now at least we know it's 10 days or whatever the hell it is to opening day. It was refreshing to hear the owner say what we should expect. No more, Mets for clicks, bullshit. The owner from his mouth to our ears. So, we're going to have the kids play, and pitching is mother effing expensive.
Yeah, and fragile. Look, I think that we've been doing the show all winter, and I think that we've all kind of been in agreement as to the direction of the ball club this year. And I guess the only way that young guys can get experience and see what you got, and to get their feet entrenched in, is to let them play. So I think that's a little bit of a sign as to what to expect this year. The run for the World Series is not necessarily in their eyes. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to go out there and try to compete and win every single night, because they are. But you're going to find out what you have as we watch Vientos strike out in his first at-bat. Not right now, but earlier in the game. To drop him under 200 again.
I'm like peeking my eyes to my left.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Look, I'm happy for the young guys that they're going to get their shot. And Alvarez struck out in his first at-bat as well, too, swinging the balls out of the strike zone. But anyway, they're going to get their chance, and that's all you can ask for as a young player. I hope that the Mets fan base can understand what's going on, and I know how it's tough to be a Mets fan, and it's tough in Mets world sometimes when the team doesn't do how you would want or expect them to do. But I think that the expectation level needs to probably be, you need to keep it down and let the boys play, knowing that there's going to be a huge free agent class out there next year. And obviously things change this year, but I think that we're looking towards next year, like we've been saying all winter.
Yes, we have been. It was always about 2025 with all the money coming off the books. But perfect way to bring this up. Blake Snell, who we have mentioned along with all the Boris clients, finally signed. And he signed with the Giants, 2 years, $32 million. And he has an opt-out after the first year.
$62 million.
I'm sorry. $62 million. 31 per year, right? But he got a signing bonus that is actually starting in 2026. Now, this is a waste of we know why he did that. He lives in California, taxes, he'll get that in 2026. But
right.
So $15 million is basically what he's getting in this year.
Right.
And no one's crying. Who's crying? Scott Boras is crying. Because the reigning Cy Young Award winner, it is the end of March, let's call it, signed for, we'll put it this way, the Yankees offered him 5 years, $150 million. 6 years, $150 million.
That was this offseason.
Yes. He turned it down. So advised by Scott Boras. So if he opts out or in or whatever, and it doesn't work out, whatever, he lost on $88 million. So, we could talk about Bellinger. We've already done it. We could talk about Matt Chapman, who turned down over $100 million with the Blue Jays. Montgomery's still out there. JDM is still out there. But, Blake Snell, reigning Cy Young Award winner, just took basically a 1-year deal for 30, and on his ledger for this year, $15 million, but it's really $31 million because he's going to opt out. And if he doesn't get hurt and pitches well.
Absolutely.
So my question to you, Bill, is Scott Boras over, like we talked about it, but we're talking about a reigning Cy Young Award winner who happened to pitch his ass off in a walk year and got way less than anybody expected. And it's almost like he had to take it,
Yeah.
And he's got his AAV at $31 million. it's crazy. It's almost like, and I'm speculating here, the ownership, and you've touched on this a million times, and you're right about it. The Dodgers effed Scott Boras and a lot of big contracts, and we'll get into it with the pitching top of the line pitchers and the amount of money they make, and how they're not starting opening day. But for Blake Snell, reigning Cy Young, he got a 1-year deal.
Well, I think that, and I don't know for 100% fact, but I believe it's true. I don't believe he's had his Tommy John surgery yet. So as a hard thrower with a lot of nasty breaking ball movement, who has yet to have his Tommy John surgery, which it seems like it's just a more and more of a thing that's going to happen eventually. I think that the long-term contract, one was, like we've talked about before, the fact that so much money was given to a certain other pitcher.
Two.
Yeah, well, Shohei's not a pitcher until he gets back out there again. He's a DH right now.
I just think that it factored into the money.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But and there's no guarantees that he's going to be back to who he was either on his second album.
Zero guarantees.
But I think that played into it. You know, obviously you can't tell Blake Snell that as a 2-time Cy Young Award winner who's had 2 times the ERA, in the low 2s, and one time I believe he was even below a 2 in his first Cy Young. You can't tell him that he doesn't feel like he's worth the type of money that has been given to DeGrom and Verlander and some of these other names out there, Cole. And then you have the rookie guy, Yamamoto, signed for the amount of money. So obviously he believed a certain way, but with the things that he has going against him, which is crazy to say going against you as you haven't had your Tommy John yet, is there's got to be a way that there's got to be something where these guys are thinking, it's just a matter of time before we lose him to an elbow injury, and he's out for a year plus.
See, I got to cut you off because unfortunately you went through your Tommy John surgery. So I feel like every pitcher is like right there, gonna get that Tommy John, whether they don't or not. It's always going to be in the back of their mind, and they want to be paid before they do. So like Blake Snell, he's not had his Tommy John, and he's
right.
like what 30, 31.
Mm-hmm.
This is why pitchers are not getting what Scott Boras wants.
I think so. I think that they've come to the realization that there's going to be a real good chance, knock wood for all these guys, that
Never
it doesn't happen. But there's a real good chance that at some point in time we're probably going to miss at least 12 months, if not up to 16 or 18 months, when we see guys coming back from being injured. And, we're seeing it this year. So I think that probably hurt him a little bit, knowing that, okay, he's 31 now. He's been pitching this long. When is the time when it does go ahead and give out? The thing that he does have going for him a little bit for not to be injured is the amount of innings that he pitches, because that's one thing that I kind of a knock on him. And obviously he's nasty, and I love watching him pitch. But the knock on him is that he doesn't go deep enough into ball games. But I tell you this, with the type of stuff that he has, if you hear at some point in time in the next coming year or two or whatever that he's got a little bit of a sore elbow or something, it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah,
I think the days of, and look, Yamamoto might have been the last of and a lot of that may have to do with selling jerseys as much as it has to do with him pitching for the next 10 years. And I think that has a lot to do with the money that was given to Shohei. A 10-year contract for a pitcher is I don't believe it's a good idea. I don't believe it's a good idea for a position player, let alone a pitcher. Now, I would love to as a pitcher to get a 10-year deal, but I just don't think that I don't think it's feasible. I don't think it's viable, and I think that you're just asking for your premium and your rates on your insurance policies to go up as you're paying the guy to rehab.
All right, Bill, you're getting ahead, and I would be remiss if I didn't go into it right now because it's perfect.
Yeah.
So, ready?
Yes.
Wondering why Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery aren't getting the money that they want? Ready? Let me fill you in on the below pitchers that are not starting opening day. Shohei Ohtani, like you said, $70 million a year. Verlander, 43.3. Scherzer, 43.3. DeGrom, $40 million. Gary Cole, We talked about him last week. $36 million a year. Patrick Corbin, who? 2019. That's when he was relevant. He milked that. Good for him. Steven Strasburg, who? Remember those days? That's almost 10 years ago, I feel like, with the Harvey, Harvey and Strasburg. Harvey's better, at Citi Field. And then you got Carlos Rendon at $27 million, Aaron Nola at $27 million, Luis Castillo for the Mariners at $24 million, and Robbie Ray at $24 million. None of these pitchers, everybody that I just list, Bill, they are not starting opening day. These are the highest, right? We're talking 24 million and above to 70 million that are not starting opening day. That's why Steve Cohen, who we alluded to earlier in the podcast, is right. Pitching is freaking expensive, and all these pitchers are not starting with these salaries as their opening day starter. So you're right. I'm not signing any pitcher to more than 5 years. If I'm a GM, do I know shit? No, but
you can just go on history. Just go on history.
Yeah.
And you can think about, let's go all the way back to Kevin Brown when Kevin Brown signed his 10-year contract. And they're like, Kevin Brown's going to be 41 years old when his contract's over. Did he even make it to the 10-year mark? It's not. Pitchers are like racehorses. Pitchers are like thoroughbreds. Pitchers are like Ferraris. They're great and they are awesome and they can do all kinds of stuff, but they break down and they're very expensive to fix. And they don't have long shelf lives.
Right.
And with the chasing of velocity, as well as the introduction of spin rate chasing, because these guys have the numbers, the stuff that we didn't have when I was pitching. You could just say, man, that was a really good curveball. Well, then you knew it was spinning a lot. So now
they could tell you
these things, and the injuries are just going to explode with them because the arm isn't supposed to do it at over 85 miles an hour. The ligament's not supposed to hold anyway. So you're rolling the dice with every single throw because these guys are throwing, even their changeups are over 85 miles an hour nowadays.
Chris Bassett, former Met, 1 year, 2022, logged all the innings, never got hurt, doesn't throw hard. He has basically confirmed what you have been saying forever. The human arm. This is a Bill Pulsifer special, everybody. Write it down. Like, seriously, get a pen, write it down. It's true. And I bring up Chris Bassett because he's, a current pitcher playing for the Blue Jays. You have said it forever, and it's could not be more true. The human arm is not made to throw 100 miles an hour. It's just not made. And Chris Bassett, he went on a podcast, and like we do on our podcast, we have our little clips that, blah, blah, blah. 92, 93, fine. But not 97 to 100 with 92 mile an hour, sliders.
Yep.
And Bassett, who is making a shit ton of money, is the one, he's saying that. You're right. You've always been right. You have a great pitcher in Bassett who's on the Blue Jays, who's an innings eater with a great ERA, saying that. And so basically my point with all this is why grab a pen, everybody, if you're watching or listening. Bill's been on this forever. The human arm is not made, whether you're lefty or righty, to throw 100 miles an hour with 93 mile an hour sliders every freaking year. You're going to have a tear. It just happens to everybody. And whether you come back from it well or you don't, that's up to the baseball gods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the roll of the dice. My saying has always been, and I'll take this all the way back to obviously when I was playing, but then it really became a thing when I started coaching my kids, when you started to deal with, okay, they're getting into the 13 and 14 years old, and they start talking about my arm is sore. And my saying has always been, if you throw, you will hurt. Now, there's a difference between I'm sore and I'm injured. But if you throw, you will hurt. you might be a little bit sore in between your outings and you make it through, but you might also be injured. So it's just one of those things that there is really nothing like standing on that mound, on top of the mound in front of it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I could not imagine.
It can be the greatest thing ever. And when you throw that ball and you throw it by a hitter, and he swings and misses at it and looks like he doesn't stand a chance, there is really no greater feeling in life as a pitcher. And if anybody else could experience it, they'd be like, wow, that's really, really awesome. But it is definitely a roll of the dice at all times that you're there's a chance that something's going to go. And with, like I said, chasing the velocity, and now with the numbers being able to be quantified so much more than they were even 5 years ago. And these, like I said it last week, I believe the guys are such competitors that they're chasing those numbers. They're definitely chasing those numbers, and they know that if I can find another revolution, I can be that much nastier. But it's that much more of a chance that you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, there's so many ways we can go about that. We could talk about how the Major League Baseball banned the sicky stuff, for the, too much spin on your curveball. It has to be due to, the rosin or Vaseline, or if you go back to the movie Major League, like snot, you put snot on the baseball?
Right.
Well, I ain't got an arm like you, kid, anymore, Eddie Harris to, Charlie Sheen, Ricky Vaughn in the movie.
Joe Boo needs a refill.
Exactly. I commend the, who you're talking about this. Seth Lugo comes to my mind. Everybody, for some reason, with his curveball, chases his, what do they call it? The RPMs?
Yes.
Or in his spin.
Rotations.
Spin rate. And it's like, slow down, come on. It's almost like we talked about last week, where it's a little too much, Well,
I'll use a perfect example in my son, who's 23 years old. He's graduated from college, and he's trying to still do the thing. He's going to probably play some independent baseball somewhere this year, and he's a left-handed pitcher, and he's doing the chasing the velocity thing. And as well, recently his curveball spin, because he uses the Rapsodo, which is the machine that reads velocity, but it also as well reads tilt on the ball, tilt on the spin of the ball.
Is that that's the $35,000?
No, that's the TrackMan. That TrackMan is the more expensive one.
This is right up there.
What's that?
This is but high
tech. This
tech,
is a step below, but it does the same thing. Same thing. And he recently has started to post some numbers that he's never seen before on the breaking ball, rotations, spin rate. And lo and behold, he's come up with a little bit of a sore forearm. So there is a definite correlation between having on a pitch-by-pitch basis, being able to see those numbers and being focused on those numbers. You are chasing spin rate. And I know that, and I'll use Bauer as an example because he was one of the guys that was a barker about the sticky stuff and all that. You see the guys in between innings, they're sitting there with iPads. Don't think that at some point in time, as well as them looking at the pitches and maybe who they faced or who they're going to be facing, they don't take a quick little peek and say, okay, what was my spin rate in last inning? All right, I need to go a little bit harder this next inning to try to get those spin rates back up.
That tab is open. And before they even go on the iPad, their coaches,
they've already looked at it too.
They had it open for them. I hate it.
We can't get mad that our elbows are blowing out. And,
I hate it.
And pitching is expensive, and guys aren't getting the contracts that they expect.
Right. And I know that most of our listeners, our overall audience listens to our podcast. But if you can see us on at Say Hello Media, if you're watching, I'm rolling my eyes. I hate it because, like you said, if your son, who's 23 years old, is now starting to look at those numbers, like. Imagine you as a 23-year-old looking at those numbers.
I mean, the only number we got was velocity. And when I first came into the league, there was, and I think I said this last week, there wasn't radar guns up in the stadiums. I remember San Diego being the first one that I saw at at Jack Murphy Stadium. That was the first one that I remember seeing the radar gun being up there after each pitch. And now it's so prevalent that, and I'm willing to bet if we go to New Shea City Field this year, I'm interested to see if they've added the technology or added the information on spin rate. I'm interested to see if that's going to be a thing.
I'll tell you this. It's a great question. I don't know the answer. But there was a time, and I forget who the pitcher was. It might have been Harvey or DeGrom. I'll leave it at that. I don't know the answer. I think one of the two, where they took down the radar gun. Because every time it was whoever pitcher would look up,
throw the ball, turn around, look, throw the ball, turn around, look.
How is that good for your psyche? You're right, exactly. It can't. they would
I mean, you'll
turn
have some
it.
guys, and I've had this topic of conversation with some former players that I know, and one of them who's really, really into the velocity says that that's how he would check where he was at to know where he was at that day. Well, you know what? And the way I look at it is, you know who's going to tell you where you're at? Read the swings by the swings of the hitters. If it looks like they're late, then your stuff is good. If it looks like they're early or they're on it, then your stuff isn't good that day.
Would you agree with this? Because we're talking about pitching and looking at the radar gun and all that, which is new-ish now. But for hitters, what's the old adage? More is less. Like you could get in the middle of your head and just like spades out. Like just see ball, hit ball. That's right.
Right.
For
Well, that'd be
pitchers,
great. I always thought this
too much.
when they did introduce the radar guns into the stadiums and all the time. I felt it was at the detriment of the pitcher for two things. One, what we were talking about before, where I'm going to be constantly looking up to see it. Two, it's giving the hitter a judge as to the timing of what he needs to, where his timing needs to be. So I feel like it took away a little bit of the game of, let's say I hit sixth. I've got 5 guys to sit there and watch after each pitch. Look up there. Okay, what was that? Okay, that's the fastball today. Okay, that's the breaking ball today. Okay, that's his changeup. All right, now I'm hitting sixth. I felt like, and I know hitting is quote unquote it's the worst it's ever been, but it's the worst it's ever been because the velocity is the highest it's ever been. But I also felt like it was kind of we're shifting the advantage, which it's not really an advantage because hitting's hard to do. But it gives them a little bit more of an opportunity or a chance because they have a gauge of what their timing has to be on each pitch.
I totally agree. And actually, you just thought like Brandon Nimmo, for example. Everybody saw his change in game plan last year, which was to hit for more power, which he did. He set a career high 24 home runs, whatever the hell it was. But there's no fiber in my body from head to freaking toe that wants Brandon Nimmo out of the leadoff spot for exactly what you just said. He looks at pitches. If he wants to turn on a fastball, he has the power, whether it's in the first inning, which is usually not, whatever. But there's something to be said about, like you said, you're batting sixth and you get to see 5 batters ahead of you. The perfect leadoff hitter is someone who has a 380 on base percentage for his career. That's Brandon Nimmo because he sees. Think about it. All right, 1990. Pick a year. Lance Johnson in 1996.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You want your leadoff hitter obviously to produce and get on base, but like the most important thing, and we know this, like the baseball fans at heart, this is the biggest thing. Get on, like. I'd rather you have an 11 pitch at bat and we see all the pitches from X pitcher than you swinging like a Jeff McNeil. And no offense, because he's not. Did he bat lead off for a while? Yes, but now he's swinging at every first pitch and everybody knows it.
That was actually that was kind of one of the knocks on One Dog on Lance was swinging too early as a leadoff hitter.
But he produced.
Oh yeah.
But I'm saying if you don't produce, you know what? Have
You're
an
not
11
helping anybody.
pitch.
You're not helping yourself, and you're not helping the team.
All right, 11 pitches is a lot, but have a 7 to 8 pitch at bat.
I believe earlier
and strike
in the game
out.
Today, Nimmo had a 9 pitch at bat, 9 pitch walk today in the game today, right before we got on.
And McNeil had an 11 pitch at bat and he walked.
Yep.
And you know what? McNeil walked, and if he struck out, that's a hell of an at bat, even though he was batting fourth. But yes, Nimmo batting first is more important. Yep. So I totally get it. I'll take a leadoff hitter who sees pitches and makes an out in the first inning to help the other batters, other than swing first pitch and ground out sharply to the second base.
Right. Doesn't help anybody there.
No, it doesn't. We do have to move on. And I guess the last thing before we get to the mailbag is, this is fascinating, Bill. And I know that I sent you the text and everything that you need to know about it. And you're part of this. And it blows my mind, and I need to know. And the listeners, after I ask this question, are going to be, I need to know as well. So do I make it dramatic? No, I'll just read the question. Or I'm not going to read the question. I'm going to read the statement.
Okay?
You're part of this. It's a crazy fact. And you know what? I'll give credit to Twitter on X, whatever they call it, BB Great Moments, okay? That's where they're at. Crazy fact, Major League Baseball has been around for 148 years. There have been over 23,000 players who have played a professional baseball game in the majors. To put that in perspective, MLB's smallest stadium by capacity, and this is old because I don't call it Progressive Field, but the numbers are going to be close no matter what. At wherever Cleveland's name is right now in Cleveland.
Jacobs Field.
No, God,
I know, but
wish.
it's Jacobs Field.
I know it is, but I wish it was what it was still. Let's just go with what they,
The Cleveland Stadium that they play Major League Baseball in.
Exactly.
Right.
Whether it's the Indians or the Guardians. Wherever the Indians play baseball, the name of the field is, their capacity is 34,830. Meaning, if every player who has put on a big league uniform from 1876 to 2023 sat in the stands, the stadium would only be 61%.
Yep.
To me, what jumps out at that is that baseball has been around, as I just mentioned, for 148 years. You couldn't fill out the amount of Major League Baseball players who have pitched a game or played in a game in the majors. You couldn't fill out the smallest capacity stadium in the majors. So I ask a former big leaguer who has pitched in many a park, many a stadium, like that. Remember when I used to say like 0.1% gets the opportunity? It's less than that. Like, I guess my question is, because I'm just memorized by this, to be one of those players of the 3,000+ over 148 years. What does that mean to you? Regardless, there are so many players that they played one day and they were cut, but they can. Mm-hmm. But there are players that made it 10 years plus and get their pension, blah blah blah. But just to be on that list, I mean, what is that? 0.0001? I mean, that's an honor and a half. And I need to ask you, as someone who's literally a part of it, what is your take on that?
Well, when you look through the great history of the game and the great history of our nation, and what this game has meant to our nation, when you look back and you're upset or not fulfilled or happy about the way that maybe your career might have went, and you wish that things could have been different or hope that things could have been different. When you put that into perspective like that, which is something that I remind myself of, it's obviously a great honor through all the hundreds of millions of people that have lived in this country over those years, to say that you were one of the guys that got the opportunity to put on a Major League Baseball uniform and stand out on the field and play and be part of the nation's pastime, the great history of the game in our country. It's an honor, and it keeps you humbled, but also makes you proud to know that you are one of those guys that got to be part of the brotherhood, the fraternity, the elite club. And it makes you appreciate it, especially the further you get away from it. It makes you appreciate it that much more, that you were lucky enough to be talented enough, focused enough, driven enough, had enough health to ever be able to do it for one day, let alone for me. Like, I played over 7 seasons. I played a little shy of 5 years in the major league. So when you put it in that kind of perspective, obviously it blows your mind. But it makes you proud, and it makes you feel lucky and happy to say that you were one of those guys.
I'm happy to hear that from you, because we all know the story with Bill Pulsifer, highly drafted, highly touted prospect, second round, and, Elbow said, "Fuck you, Bill." That's what it did. But, things like this makes you, like you just said, it puts it in perspective. And you saw the tweet that I sent you, like, you couldn't fill out the smallest ballpark in Major League Baseball with
all the players that ever played.
Exactly. So I'm happy that, you recognize that and how special that is. Whether your career went right or wrong, it's no matter what, special.
Well,
You
thank you.
know?
I do appreciate that, and I appreciate the fans that understand that. And I know you're a huge baseball fan and a friend and a colleague now. That does mean something to me, and it should mean something to anybody that ever got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, what percent, what I've been saying forever, it's not even close. It's so much less. But, you know, I wouldn't consider, like, I hate using the stupid cliche, consider yourself lucky. No, you made your own luck. You know, you worked your ass off during high school and before that, and, you know, it shit happens.
Well, I think
And
that's one of the things that I try to impart on the kids that I work with is the sacrifices and the dedication that you have to give in order to do that. And look, I had a lot of fun as a kid, but I also knew that there was times where other guys might be going to do XYZ, and you shouldn't go do that because you have a big game the next day, or you have to go to a showcase, or whatever it may be. If you're going to be one of those guys, you have to be willing to put a lot of things on your life to the other side for a little while to be able to achieve that.
yeah, no, I totally respect that. You're right. There's a lot that goes into playing Major League Baseball for a living, you know, time consuming and you know, condition.
I've always kind of said it's the gift and the curse. You know, it's the greatest. And like I said earlier, there's nothing like standing out on that mound and knowing that you're in complete command of everything, and everybody's looking down there. But it can also be a very, very lonely and heartbreaking place as well at times.
Yeah, no, I totally get. I mean, I don't get it, but I get it. Um, let's put it this way: there's a lot of people that suffer from mental health, you know, and uh, at the end of the day, someone who made and played 5 seasons in the major, seven, you know, and pitched what was it? 17 years professionally, Korea, Mexico, wherever it might be.
I consider it from 91 to 2011. Now, obviously, I had a year where I didn't play because I injured myself, and in '91 I didn't actually play because I got drafted and then held off till I didn't sign till late. So you want to call it 19 seasons, you want to call it 20 seasons, you want to call it
Doesn't matter.
18
Yeah,
seasons, whatever, for a long time.
if you're over 15, who gives a shit? But I guess my point is before I stop with the you know, we're not worthy kind of whatever. Um, you know, there are a lot of people that are going through a lot of shit, and I like to be able to just like if you like people have problems suffering and sleeping at night, right? You could be, and I'm not saying I have no idea how you sleep at night, and frankly, I don't care right now. You know, for podcast sake, okay, I do as a friend, but for podcast sake, like you're one of those 001, you know, that made it. And what I was trying to get at, thank God my brain just clicked in. Your perseverance of traveling literally around the goddamn world, Korea, Mexico, independent league with the Ducks, you know, taking your ego aside, throwing it out the window, you know, it takes a lot for someone
Well,
to
you know
do
what?
that.
I'm gonna, and we'll wrap this up here.
Yeah.
I'll
Mailbag
use the
almost.
word that I text you last week after we got off when you asked me. It's 2 weeks ago now, actually.
Feel free to curse because.
Well, 2 weeks ago, one of the questions was if I could make up a word or put a word in the dictionary, and I said my word would be scrumtrelescent.
Yes.
And then I text you after it, and I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? If I actually wanted to, if I look back at my life and my career and just everything, not just baseball, but just life in general, um, I picked the wrong word. I went for funny, and I really should have went to my real word, which is stick-to-itiveness. And that's not a real word, but
it's called perseverance.
It's sticking to it. You know, whatever happens, pick yourself back up and go after it again, and don't ever quit. Don't ever give up.
We'll leave it at that. My final say on this is that, guys, and I told my friends this during the weekend. Everybody's fighting a battle that we don't know.
Absolutely.
Be kind, and perseverance, like you have done. We're given what happened to you, you know, with your elbow blown out early in your career, and you still going 17 years strong professionally, traveling around the world, man. I tip my cap to you.
I thank you. I thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's get to the mailbag before I start crying. All right. I'm kidding.
Hey, baseball can be emotional, man.
Baseball, that's why it's the greatest sport in the world.
That's right.
All right. We got to go to the mailbag. Mailbag. If you're new to the mailbag, we always throw it out there. Questions live, read on the air by Bill and I. And Mets, MLB, we touch upon it all. It's not just Mets. We've actually probably talked about more MLB today than we have Mets.
It's spring training still. We'll have enough Mets talk here coming up shortly. And it'll be great.
We will. Trust me. But we got to start with your boy. Okay? NYGM. And he asked for you. Got to zoom in. Get a little. No,
you're getting old, Casey. You need to read.
Nah. You know what it is? I got 7 pictures that I'm looking at, so it's blurry on one email. Ready?
Yes.
Bill, it's only for you.
Okay.
When a player is cut at the end of camp, I saw this and I laughed before. I'm reading it again. When a player, it's not funny, but the major league references.
I know. I pretty much know this anyway.
I know.
I don't know the question yet because I didn't see this one.
Oh.
But I have been this guy. So anyway, go ahead.
Right. So that's why I just prefaced it's not funny, but the major league references. When a player is cut at the end of camp, what is the usual routine and conversation like? ? I assume there are no red flags in the locker like in Major League. LOL.
Now I'm going to say this. Maybe at some point in time that was a thing, or maybe that was just Hollywood. But that is definitely not how it happens. You know, you're usually called in to the office with the manager, and the manager will then go through A, B, C, D, the reasons and what their plan will be. Whether it's, and I've been all of the above. I've been sent to minor league camp, and I've been released as you're not going to even stay in the organization. So it is a meeting in the office with the manager, and where he breaks the bad, sad news to you.
So, yeah, I never believed it. Major League is my favorite movie, as we've talked about. Yeah, there's no red tags, and you had like Joe Boo with the snake, over the locker,
right?
And all that. But yeah, I get that. I remember that scene, and it's just like, I know that wasn't true because of cinema, but Hollywood. It's still, that's why Major League, in my opinion, is the best.
Yep.
Yeah. But thank you for the question, JKNYMGI. Let's go to Jeff Cohen. All right. Jeff Cohen, he has a great podcast, Baseball and BBQ, and he's got a question, and he writes, same question for Bill and Casey. This should be good.
He always has. He always incorporates you.
Yeah, he does, and I appreciate that, Jeff, because I know you're listening whenever you are listening right now. You are having a barbecue. Which 3 guests are you inviting, and which 3 non-baseball guests are you inviting, living or not? Now we're talking straight barbecue here. All right, hold on. Before you answer, let's cut it down a little bit because that's 6 each. Let's go 2 each.
So 2 baseball guys, 2 non-baseball guys.
Each, yes.
Okay, 2 baseball guys. Let me go with one of my favorite teammates and one that I will always be tied forever with, and that'd be Jason Isringhausen. I'd love to have him around. He's a St. Louis guy too. So
gotta get him on the podcast. Absolutely,
we will. We're going to 100%. And St. Louis style ribs being my favorite type of barbecue. I would obviously say Jason Isringhausen. And then why wouldn't I want to have my favorite player of all time? And one of our former guests, and Dwight Gooden. And that would be my 2 baseball players. Non-baseball players. Adolf Hitler would definitely not be invited to my barbecue.
Not be. Let's get that straight.
Not
be.
Right? We're going, I need 2 guys that are non-baseball players that are coming.
Yeah. Hold on. Yes. Non-baseball guests that you were inviting. Where you got the not was living or not.
Okay. Yes, because he would
scratch that.
Be on my list of
let's make it clear.
He would be on my list of not coming.
Yes.
He would be my number 1 on the list of not coming to the barbecue.
I get it.
Non-baseball guys coming to the barbecue, living or not. Christopher Wallace. That's the notorious B.I.G.
I know exactly who he is.
And
Brooklyn in the
another
house.
one. Why not Will Ferrell, man? We got to have some laughs too.
You love your Will Ferrell.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Nothing wrong with
do.
that. Okay.
I'm glad I didn't have to say my second not coming because that could ruffle some feathers too. But anyway, neither
You
here
know
nor
what?
there.
You said magic words that I don't. We're good. He asked me. Actually, I mean, I've seen this. He sent this in days ago, and I didn't
Still
think
can't
about
come
it.
up with one.
No, I haven't even thought about it. I'm going to do it on the fly, which is better for everybody listening right now.
Absolutely.
It's better when you're just on the fly and you're raw, you're real. Three. Well, he asked for 6. Well, 3 each. So we made it 2. 2 baseball guests are invited to a
2
barbecue.
baseball, 2 non-baseball that are coming, that are going, and they could be either living or not.
Pete Alonso, because
Of course.
I mean, people are going to knock me for this, and I get shit all the time on Twitter about, oh, Lucy this, Lucy that, you're friends with Pete.
Wow.
I don't broadcast this on Twitter. Are you kidding me? But
you know how Twitter is.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to it. But so this is exactly what I'm standing for. Pete Alonso.
Why wouldn't you?
Screw you. You're not getting my attention on Twitter for your clicks and your likes. It's still Pete Alonso because I consider Pete a friend, and he's a cool, down-to-earth guy. And he happens to be the best power hitter in baseball.
And I bet you he likes some barbecue, too.
Yeah, and he also likes... I don't know if he likes barbecue, but I know if you like beer, craft beer especially, chances are you probably like barbecue.
I don't know. I mean, I can't understand somebody who wouldn't like barbecue, but that's me. Anyway, yeah. All right.
So I would say Pete. There were 3 baseball guests that are
2.
God, Jeff Cohen. Man, these are good questions, Jeff. All right, everybody subscribe to Barbecue and Baseball, BBQ. Okay, type it in your podcast. This is a great question. Pete and we're going
Piazza.
living. No, I don't even want to go live because
Ricky Henderson.
Are you answering my own question, Bill?
I'm trying to help you out here.
No, you know what? Pedro Martinez.
Okay, I like
you know
that.
Why? Because I think Pedro Martinez is the most talented, and when you put it together, like Greg Maddux is in his own class, right? But Pedro Martinez, to me, trumps him because Pedro Martinez had the better stuff, but his IQ was on par with Greg Maddux, in my opinion.
And he also pitched in the steroid era, which makes it that much more impressive, obviously.
Yeah. So my answers are Pete Alonso and Pedro Martinez.
I like
non-living.
Pedro would have some nice salsa music playing too.
That's fine by me.
Absolutely.
Even though I wouldn't know, I would need a lot of drinks to even think that I'm good. Non-living, I'm not answering this.
Non-baseball.
I'm not. Dude, we're taking too much time with this.
On to the next.
Great. I'll give credit where credit's due. That's a great question, Jeff Cohen. All right. Good job. We're moving on. Ready?
Yeah.
We're going Theo.
Yeah. My guy.
At who is in the name is his username. Can we get a draft or a rank of the top players Bill Pulsifer has played with?
Well,
I'll
go. I played with 2 of the, I would consider greatest, if not the greatest, right-handed hitters in the last 50 years.
How many? I want to guess them.
2, and neither one of them is a Met.
I know that.
Neither of them was a Met.
Sammy Sosa's 1.
I played with, not against.
With.
Do you want me to name the teams that I played for?
His question is with. Yeah. With? And they're not Mets?
And they're not Mets.
Oh. Manny Ramirez.
That's 1.
Go ahead with 2.
Albert Pujols.
703 home runs. That'll do it.
Those were
703. I don't know if that's right, but
this is the thing about those guys is people don't understand. I saw those guys go and hit in the cage off of a tee every single day, and that's something that you wouldn't think that is a thing. And because I still deal with kids in baseball, and I follow some of the stuff that's going on, and there's certain people that will say that kids shouldn't hit off of a tee because it's not replicating hitting. And then I always, if I do comment or do post back, it's always, I played with two of the greatest, if not the greatest hitters of the last 50 years, and I watched both of them hit off of a tee every single day. So if it's good enough for Manny and it's good enough for Albert Pujols, I think it's good enough for anybody.
I got nothing on that. You win. I mean, yeah.
It speaks for itself.
How do you beat that? Yeah.
You can't.
Good. All right, Theo. Good question. And by the way, still no immaculate grid. Okay? Same dude. But you know what? Hold on. I saw your comments back to Theo in our, whatever. I played immaculate grid. It was awesome. But time is like everything, it passed. We're on to the new thing.
That's it.
So we're done with that. Last question.
Okay. Yes.
Bill and Casey. This is from Ethan. Let's go Mets 1962.
Is this a new question? A new guy questioning?
Seems like an older dude with 1962 in his.
Good. I love it.
Ethan, if you're not old, my apologies. Roast me. Okay?
And if you are, good for you.
That too. All right. First questions to Bill. They're two separate questions. For Bill, when you played, I like this question. Seeds, gum, chew, all
the above.
All the above?
I saw this one.
Oh, you did. Well,
not a lot of gum. Not a lot of gum. I definitely.
Okay. So
I never.
No Tyler McGill.
Yeah, definitely not. Because look, I was always told that it's hard enough to walk and chew gum. How the hell you can be able to pitch and chew gum? But
Tyler,
I will say this.
Hold on, I'm calling Tyler.
Yeah. I don't want Big Tyler coming after me either. That's a big boy. That's a big old strong boy. I don't want him coming after me. But
actually, that would be a good.
No. I'm 50. He's young and he's a much bigger man. I'm old. Anyway.
Yeah, but I know your tenacity.
Stick-to-itiveness. I definitely went through plenty of bags of seeds, and I did dip tobacco for a long period of time. Luckily, I don't dip tobacco anymore, and I don't eat that much anymore. But never when I pitched. Never anything in my mouth when I pitched.
Really?
Yeah, I did
nothing
when I pitched.
Wow.
Yeah, in the dugout. Spitting seeds.
Okay.
We used to have a little game at Shea, which was an awesome game. It was awesome. Because Shea had 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you were out. It was actually 5 because it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then field level. And we had.
I want to say something, but how the fuck can I correct somebody who actually walked up the dugout to throw it? Yeah,
we would flick seeds. We would flick seeds. You'd hold the seed in your fingers and you'd flip it like this.
Huh?
And the first step was a single. The second step was a double. The third step was a triple. The fourth step was a home run. And that was the game. And so a lot of seeds and definitely too much Copenhagen over the years. And a little bit of Red Man here and there, but not gum much. Now and again.
Oh, I'm happy that you're done with the chew. And I feel like nothing in your, while you're pitching, normal, because you're right. It's hard enough to walk and chew,
Right. You don't see a lot of guys pitching with stuff in their mouth. You will see it, but I think you see more guys with nothing in their mouth when they're pitching.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the mailbag, and those were really good questions.
Absolutely.
I got stumped on Jeff's. Thank you all that threw in the mailbag questions. Again, if you're new to the podcast, we always ask this before we go on for the next one. So this is episode 30, episode 31. We're going to throw it out there on Shay_hello. If you have questions for Bill or I, ask them. We will read them live on the air like we're just doing right now. So again, thank you everybody who asked. Good. These were really good questions.
I agree.
It is time for the last segment of the show. Dun, dun, dun. Quick pitches. We took an abbreviated little pause last week, but no more. If you're new to the show, quick pitches. 3 questions to Bill Pulsifer from me. He doesn't know what's coming. They don't have to be MLB related. If question number 3, I don't like the answer, I have a question number 4 ready to go. Bill knows what the next question is. You ready?
I'm ready.
Question 1. What would you be if you had to wear one Halloween costume every day for the rest of your life?
I'm going to go with one that I actually wore, and it's Billy Idol.
Okay, I mean, I know. So you're going blonde hair, leather.
Blonde hair, spiky leather, lip up, dancing with myself.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The lips are
It goes up. It does.
whatever they are.
I used to
Okay.
practice it.
So you're okay doing that? Hypothetical questions here. You're okay with Billy Idol for the rest?
I'm Billy Idol for the rest of my life.
You know
Or
what?
only on October 31st. Or for
No,
the rest of my life. Every day.
Rest of the year, every day.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Billy Idol.
You know what? You could be it could be much worse. So I'll go with. We're fine with that.
I went with one that I actually did do when I want to say about 6th or 7th grade, maybe 6th grade, and why not?
I like it.
Rockstar, baby.
A, I like his music. B, it's not a bad look. And C, it could be so much worse.
And all ball players wanted to be rock stars, and all rock stars wanted to be ball players. So fits. It's fitting.
You're right. All right. Question number 2. What is the craziest bet? It doesn't have to be money wise. What is the craziest bet you've ever made in your life?
Well, as somebody that got into gambling a little bit right after being drafted, I would say any bet that I ever made, because I
bet.
I was not a good gambler, and I realized that early on, and I got out of gambling. I actually went to Vegas early December this year.
Yes, you did.
And I spent $7 on slots, and that's the only gambling I did there, because I knew I would lose if I played. So I don't have a lot of willpower at all times. When it comes to gambling, I am lucky to say that I have enough willpower to know that any bet that I make is a terrible bet.
I'm happy to hear that, because people who have addictive personalities, that's harder than anyone will ever think.
And ever. I tell you, that's why I have a little bit of an issue with it being so promoted on television. As somebody that has an addictive personality and had dealt with addictions, whatever it may be, tobacco might have been one of them at one point in time. I just feel like it's kind of too much temptation out there for people, and I know how it can ruin people's lives. So the better. Yep. Look, man, if you can win a big bet and walk away from it, great. But it's a lot harder to just walk away from it than it is to to say I'm going to do it one time and that's that.
We've done this in the earlier part of our podcast experiences. I've been on record about my gambling issue. I'm happy that you recognize that and just stay the hell away.
Stay away from it, man. Stay away from it.
Nothing good comes from it unless. No, actually,
you're always going to be chasing it. You win, you're chasing. You lose, you're chasing.
I say this because people can do it, right? Obviously, billions of dollars are made every day. Not every day. Millions of dollars are made every day by casinos, and they bring in billions. But if you have an addictive personality, stay the hell away.
100%.
So, question 3, and this will decide whether there is a question number 4.
All right.
3. What are 2 things you would like to ask your pets? I know you got dogs. I know you have cats. 2 things that you could ask any of them.
Man.
You only get 2.
2 questions.
Yeah.
Do you love me as much as I love you? That's a tough question.
You know the answer to that.
Yeah.
They do.
It feels good to know, I guess.
Okay.
Second.
Fair enough.
That is tough.
Yeah. Finally.
What? Would you rather we go on more walks or we go on less walks?
And I think you know the answer to that one too.
I don't know. I think I have one, because look, I have 2 older dogs and then I have 2 younger dogs. And unfortunately, the older dogs have some leg problems, so they can't go for long walks. I think that one of my dogs would probably say, that I do walk that are younger, I want to go on more walks, and I think that I have another one who's kind of he was a rescue dog from Puerto Rico that went through 2 hurricanes. I think he would say less walks because he's a little bit of a scaredy cat.
I get it. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to go to 4.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We missed the week. Might as well.
No, I get it. I love my pets, and I always think about this. Like, if you could answer me, Lucy, back in the day when she was alive, R.I.P., like, what would I ask them if I could right now? Like, I will never, but
look, another good question would obviously be, are you hurting? If you can tell me, are you hurting, or is there something wrong with you? Obviously that would be a good question.
Bill, you're a huge dog lover. The answer, we know when our dogs something's up,
right?
Yep. So, yeah. All right, 4 it is.
Question 4.
What is the weirdest superstition you've ever had? Or, no, I'm sorry. I've asked you this before. I read it wrong. Number 4, what is the weirdest superstition you've ever heard of?
Well, I think that the one that people talked about a lot in my life, in my early career coming up, was the Turk Wendell brushing of his teeth in between each inning and eating licorice.
Licorice, right?
Yeah,
was it black?
Black licorice.
Because who the hell likes black licorice?
You know what? I don't mind it, but it wouldn't be my go-to. Like, if I had to choose a licorice, I wouldn't go to it. I actually like the little cherry nibs, which are like the little inch-long things.
Yep.
I really like those. I think they taste really good. But I've got the pleasure, and I played with Turk, but I played with him kind of briefly because in 2000 I was up a little bit and then got traded away. But I've got to get to know Turk through fantasy camp over the last 4 years. Turk is a tremendous guy, and he was obviously known for his quirkiness and his superstitions. So the brushing of the teeth in between each inning was probably the most strangest. Look, I had a bunch of them myself too. When I told Doc Gooden that I still hadn't, to this day, put on my right shoe before my left shoe, he thought it was the funniest thing he's ever heard. But
that's up there.
Right shoe, even to this day.
That's up there. That's up there with licorice and brushing your teeth and everything Turk. So, yep. But I'm happy I asked number 4 because that's wild. So, unfortunately, that's going to do it for episode 30.
We did it.
So, episode 30. I want to thank Steve White, our producer, behind the scenes. I want to say that this episode is brought to you by roots.recordings.com. I'm sorry, roots.recordings.com. And I want to say, sub right now if you're watching on YouTube. It's at Say Hello Media. And if you're following us and you're listening, drop us a review. Tell us we're the most handsome people in the world. Or not. Just a review is good. We can take the constructive criticism. So before that, I want to congratulate the winner on the giveaway for the Jeff Kent.
Audited
I could not make that up if I tried.
That's crazy.
Like, literally, that's his name, and he's like added an extra T or something. I don't know.
Good for him.
Before we go, Bill, any last words before we say goodbye here on episode 30?
No, just like always, thanks to all the listeners. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the new people coming in and chiming in with some questions. And we're getting close, guys. We're getting close to the season. So getting excited for some baseball.
Absolutely. We are right around the corner for meaningful baseball for Mets, and we'll see what happens, and we will be there to cover it every week for you guys. Again, for Stephen White and Bill Postfer, my name is Casey Lynn saying so long from episode 30, and we can't wait to see you and hear from you in episode 31. Have a good night, guys.
Goodbye, y'all.